Sawaneh. Thank you. So today we're going to be discussing about the rearrest of 3 years Jotna folks. And also we're going to discuss rural urban migration. We come to this platform and express our opinions, and we analyze what we have, the facts we have in hand, or what we read about, and from the impartial point of view. So we welcome your questions, your concerns. You can dial the WhatsApp number 917-974-1095 if you want to join our conversation. Thank you. So Sam, I know Alice is not here today. One of our folks that who actually join us every week. But we can go ahead with this. I think with the 3 years Jotna rearrest, you read something about it. The court, they were released and they were going outside the courtroom and the police were standing by to arrest them and then charge them again of the same crime or the same things that they were accused of. What is your take on this, based on the information you had or you read about?
Yep, good. Well, thank you, Mr. Sawaneh. It is very sad, really sad, and very sad to see something like that happen in our country. I know this is a sensitive issue, but what is out there for everybody to see. And what the newspapers and the media wrote on their platforms or on their papers is out there for everybody to see. And if that is all true, since I don't have any information, I don't talk to anybody in Gambia about things like this. I don't get, communicate with people about this. So I listen to the news. I listen to what the media says, and I look at the facts, and I look around the world. What happened in the world? Have I ever seen anywhere in the world where some people got arrested, taken to jail, then bailed out, prosecuted, and the day of prosecution, they said they are acquitted. They're released. You're free to go home. On their way down, they get captured and say you're arrested for what? The same thing that we just released you from. I have never seen that in the world. So that is something I want to talk about. That is really, I would say, ridiculous to see something like that happening. And the only way I can think of is this dictatorship that we came from, because only dictators can give orders like that and say, well, just arrest them because for whatever reasons are, like I said, I don't know the reasons behind them. I don't know the motive behind them, but I have never, one thing I know for sure is I've never seen that I've been in America for a long time. I've never seen this in American court, that somebody came out of court where they were acquitted and then rearrested and recharged for the same thing. I've never seen that anywhere. So it really baffled me. And very surprisingly, I asked myself, what is happening in our country? Why is this happening? How can we allow this to happen in our country? Are we going back to dictatorship? And this is what we fought, for a long time to get dictator out of there. If we're taking the same route, going back to that same thing, means Gambia we changed administration, but we didn't change how we operate. It's just like that. It's the same thing. And it's really the international community, all good Gambians, good citizens, and even the diplomatic corps are going to say, what in the world happened here? Why is this happening? Is this true democracy? These are the things that we all need to ask ourselves. And as good citizens, we should not allow this to happen in our country. Everybody needs to say your opinion about this. Without getting into details that you don't know. I don't talk about anything I don't know. So what I don't know, I don't know. I just tell people I don't know. So, but what is a reality also is something that is very obvious. So, why are they getting arrested and recharged for the same offense that they were just acquitted from? Is really something that I cannot understand. And as Gambians, my advice would be is, if we see, or when we see things like this happening, that's when we all need to make our minds and say, you know what, it is time. If you have not already decided, it is time to decide to really change this government and say, you know what, we need to change this administration because this is where we came from. This is what held us behind as a country. This is one of the things that held us behind as a country. Not the only thing. A lot of things in there that we don't need to talk about today, but we need to do something to change this. And the best way to change something is your voter registration card. During elections, go out and vote for someone that's going to make a change. We do not want to see this happening. And if you change and bring somebody else in, all we need to start doing in Gambia is 5 years, one term for any president. We bring them for one term. If we see them doing all the right things, we know no one is perfect. Nobody's going to perform 100%, but someone that really prioritizes things that the country needs and follow that and do what is right and lead by example with great leadership skills, we can probably give them a second chance. Anybody that cannot do this, we don't need to waste any more time. We've already wasted 20 something years or more than that since Gambia became independent. It's been a long time. Is that what? We are going to 56 or 57 years now. We really need to see our country move forward by putting leaders in there that are going to make that difference and not leaders that are going to take us back to where we came from. It's just really too bad. It's unfortunate. I hate to see it happening. Happen. And I feel very sorry for these people that went through all of this. It should not have happened.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. So they said that the way it happened was that the case was on, and it came to a point when they realized, the government folks realized that they are losing the case, they went to withdraw the case, according to the papers that I read. So just to make sure that the judge don't finalize the case, so they went to withdraw it. Now, withdrawing the case, on their way out, thinking that probably the case is over, they will arrest them. But the thing is, according to their spokesperson, the rearresting the order came from the top. Usually when they say the top means, from the executive coming down. So the question here is, why is it that the reason for rearresting was not mentioned to the general public? If you're gonna rearrest them as a police officer or whatever role you serve, you should explain to people why they are arrested, but the order comes from the top. So that's what make everything look ugly and remind us the dictatorship. We want to give everybody a chance to prove themselves, including the government, but we cannot sit here and then keep blind eyes on things that are not normal. I mean, if we say we have New Gambia, things need to be in order, we need to get our house in order, we should have a practice that makes sense. I have no issue to arrest them. If you find something new, some information that are new, that can additive, you can add to the case. I'm not a lawyer, but I solely understand the law, here or in the Gambia, because I work for the Bronx District Attorney's Office. I work with lawyers for 10 years. I've been, through a lot of things that dealt with law. I came from a criminal justice background, John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. So I work with police officers. I know some laws about general laws and especially laws about the Gambia. So it is nowhere that you can arrest somebody, like you said, the same crime without finding any additional info. So I think, what should have been done is to kind of give him reasoning. But if you say it comes from the top, comes from the top with no explanation. What does that mean? That means, we are back to square one again, having things coming from the top, like anyhow they want. So I'm not in any support of any of these groups, but when you analyze the fact, we have to be reasonable here. We have to make sure that we let everyone know that, Gambian people are really, getting their act together. They are educating every day. They are knowing their rights, and they cannot be taken advantage of. So the legal system is there for everybody to serve and protect everybody, right? Including these 3-year Jotna folks. So I would not be here to speculate about anything that is not out there. What they're saying is that they are rearrested without explanation. And I don't condone any of the act of, insult or any of the act of violence, but people need to be told what they are arrested for if they leave the court. But according to, papers, the case was withdrawn, and then they were arrested so they can perhaps try them again. But they told them that, the order came from the top. So that's where my concern is, coming from the top. I'm tired of hearing that. The order don't supposed to be coming from the top. The order is supposed to be coming from finding something and telling these people that, hey, something went wrong. We got more information. Then we gotta really go back and look into this case. Yeah. So this is my little knowledge of the case. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add to that too. Thank you for that insight. Definitely. I look at leaders to know and have leadership skills. I expect them to do things that are right for the country. And like you said, we need to get away from orders coming from the top. I keep hearing that. We've heard that from a long time when Jimmy was there. Order came from the top. The top. Who is the top man? That top man is the man that people nominated, people voted for and put in power. And people can take that person out in the next election by not giving them power. So that top person, whoever is doing this, unless somebody is doing it on behalf of the president, but if the president is doing this, I'm going to say this, if I were a president, I will not be giving orders like that. I will do my executive order, for example, and say, time out. Where are these drugs coming from? I want everybody related to this drug arrested now. I want my attorney general to come in. Let's, as my executive order, let's put an international warrant for where these drugs came from, who is behind this person, and get them arrested and prosecuted. I want to know about all of those. I'm going to issue an executive order. Why are women dying from labor? What can we do? I'm going to stop something and start something. I'm going to go after the Chinese and say, look at all this environmental damage that you're doing in our country. Stop. I'm going to put a timeout, executive order, something that benefits the whole country. I'm going to stop that and say, let's investigate. Let's look into this. Make executive orders that's going to impact the whole country and not just a small group of people. Yes, it all depends. You can do a small group of people depending on circumstances. But something like this is really demeaning the character and the reputation of our leadership by reissuing something and saying arrest somebody that's been acquitted, or you withdraw a case based on what you said and based on the newspapers. Case was withdrawn because they didn't have enough evidence to prosecute them anyway in the first place, or didn't have any evidence or witnesses to really put them in prison or behind bars. So you can withdraw that case and move on. That's it. and don't go back to it and try to rearrest them for something else. It's really, these executive powers need to be used wisely, and they need to be used to benefit the whole country. Anywhere that is a threat to our community, threat to our people, anywhere that these people are no threat to our people, okay? Anywhere that's an environmental damage is gonna impact our people. So the whole country, impact our economy, things like that, and do something about that rather than just having an order to rearrest people that have been acquitted already. So, you know, it's like I said, it's very sad to see our country going backwards in terms of democracy instead of moving forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to add to what you just said, you know, we came, I mean, far. And if we say that we are actually, you know, democracy is in our country, I think, you know, people should, you know, should be, the due process should be followed, and then people should be having access to all legal resources, and then people should be able to be, I mean, judged fairly and prosecuted fairly. Now, the whole idea of 3 years Jotna, I mean, I understand, you know, they came out to express their concern about the agreement being made, okay, which was a valid agreement, and then they had the right and they were given permits. So the logistics about why they were arrested, whether they have been fighting and so forth, I don't know much details on that. But having to have somebody acquitted or cases done, that is where the clarity is. We don't have clarity on, because is it that the case was really withdrawn, or is it that it was closed and the judge said, hey, you guys are set free, you can go home? So that's where the clarity is not. And then according to the folks being arrested or, you know, being taken to court, they said that they were coming out as a free person, as a free people. They were free, and later on understand that they're getting arrested. So that is where my concern is. You have to make, before you let them leave the courtroom, you have to make them known that they are not free. You know, something fishy about it. You know, they are not free. They are still under arrest. I mean, the case is not closed. Come with some kind of a format that legally we can understand.
Yep.
But according to them, they were told or they thought they are going home. Later on, they found out that they're getting arrested. So I think that's what caused all this confusion. And the response of why are we arrested? Oh, it's coming from the top. That's what we don't want to hear. That top comment, we don't want to hear that. We're tired of that.
Yep.
You know, coming from the top. Who is the top? You mean the president? You have to be, you know, specific. If one single person tell you to arrest this person, don't cover it up. Say it, so we know who we are dealing with. But, you know, having to say coming from the top, and then people are clueless and they're getting arrested. They have to be bailed. They have to. I mean, it's just creating more confusion in our country. We need to do away with this. Okay, and then people should be. So this government should understand. People need to come out and express their you know, their whatever the grievances. You know, as long as they're not committing any violence, as long as they are not doing anything that is not in line with the law. So again, you know, this is something that we have to wait to see the bottom of everything. But I guess, you know, after all said and done, everything will be corrected. Yeah, because this will set an example of what is going to come after. If we don't correct this situation, we're going to see this kind of happenings. And our justice department need to make sure that they are impartial. You cannot be allowing acts that are not in line with justice. Okay? A law everywhere I mean, this kind of law, it never happened anywhere whereby people are acquitted and then for the same crime, and you arresting them for the same crime. Now, if you find some other discoveries that the judges never covered, yes, I agree. You can reopen the case. You know, I'm not a lawyer, but again, I'm familiar with the law. So I think this thing will be corrected sooner or later. Yeah, but it's something worth talking about. Again, you know, we are impartial in this case, but we're just analyzing based on the information, based on the newspaper, I mean, the writings on the newspaper, based on our common sense. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. You got it wrapped up. That's very good.
All right. So moving forward, we're gonna go to the second segment. If you don't have Sam, unless you have something to say.
Nope. Let's go on. Move on.
Okay. Move on. So the second segment of our show today will be rural-urban migration. The reason why we are touching this area because we feel like our country needs more work. People are fleeing from rural areas in search for greener pasture, but this is causing us more and more harm. Why? We are losing a lot of people. I mean, the provinces is becoming an empty land. It's not getting occupied. And you go to the provinces, you see land, empty land. I remember going there 2019. I was driving from Farafenye to Badibo, to my village. I barely could see a tree. It's like a desert zone. I'm like, what happened? When we were young, these places all used to be like a thick forest. And people, I mean, I started asking people, they started to say, hey, nobody farm here anymore. Everybody is either in combos in the rural areas or they travel to abroad. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with us? So the urban areas is congested. Even the air there, the sanitation, you know, you can see, you go to Serekunda, it's packed. People cannot even breathe. It rains there. I mean, the whole place get flooded. You know, mosquitoes, garbage, when it rains, the rain pick up garbage cans or bags and take it to the other side of the town. I mean, you dare not to even go there during rainy season. I kind of wonder, was this the place that I was living before? But if you look at the provinces, there is barely any mosquitoes there. The land is wide. You know, there's barely any stagnant water for mosquitoes to breed. And not only that, you don't need to deal with all this congestion. And we have the land to garden and to farm. But we are all going to combos, migrating there for greener pastures. At the same time, you know, like going there, not be able to meet what we are looking for and abandoning our villages, and they are getting deteriorated in terms of agriculture. The inhabitants are not there and so forth. So looking at this whole thing, we can point fingers on our citizens, ourselves. We can point fingers on the government for not diversifying the resources to the urban areas so people can stay there and farm and have factories there and have businesses there. So we can look at it in different aspects, but we need to look at rural urban migration because it's hurting us, in other words. So I will allow you to come in, Sam, on this.
Yeah, Mr. Sawaneh, this is a very important topic, and I remember I've talked about this in my forum as well, last year and the year before last, and a little bit on this year as well. It is very important, and the government need to look at. This is not just this government. This is from Jammeh's government, coming even before that to Jawara's government. Jawara's government, Combo was not this densely populated because there was a lot of farming, you had GPMBs in different places. You have the one in Saro, you have there's one in Kaur, there's one in different places that really created job opportunities for people to work, and they stay in those areas, and they have government quarters in those areas as well where people stay. So if you look at urban migration, there are a lot of different aspects to look at. I'm not sure that we can discuss all of it now, but one thing to look for is for any government to ask themselves is, why are people migrating to the combos? Why? Look at the reasons, make a study and see why people are coming down to combo. What are they coming for? What are they looking for? What are some of the things that makes them come to combo? Can we provide all of that up there so they don't come down here? Because this urban migration has a tremendous impact on our economy. It has impact on our environment. It has impact on our people, and cost of living, of course, all of that in different areas. So if you look at, and if the government wants to discourage that, one of the steps that they can take is really, just like when I discuss the Jahal Pachar project here on this platform and in my forum for the last 2 years or 3 years, I've been talking about this. It's a good way to get people out of the combos and make them work, give them jobs up there. And by even moving the Ministry of Agriculture outside of Banjul, because agriculture has a big role in this. They need to be the ones that are going to create jobs and be able to encourage people and reward people for farming. Really, if I look at from president's standpoint, in Jawara's time, it used to be called Meet the Farmer Store. Okay. And it was changed to Meet the People Store. Yeah, I can understand that. You're going to meet all the people, not just the farmers. Even if you go to meet the farmers anyway, people come in anyway. You're still meeting the people. So to really look at what farmers need and help them with what they need so they can do their farming by encouraging them and even subsidizing sometimes in some areas. But farming is a key. There's a lot of land in the urban area, in the rural area, where people can take advantage and do all kinds of things there. So agriculture needs to come to the top of our priority to make sure that not only we're discouraging urban migration, but we're also allowing people to grow what we're going to eat and make it easier and also more cost effective for our cost of living. If we grow rice all over the country, we grow groundnuts all over the country, we do farming, tomatoes, onions, lettuce. We encourage into all of this all over the country. Really, cost of living will be forced to come down because we have plenty in our own country that we can eat without importing it into our country. So the rice importers are not going to charge us too much because there's abundant of rice in our country. If we can provide that ourselves, and we can do that. We really can do it. There's a lot of ways that they can take and get this done. So, and if you do that, especially with the Jahal Pachar project, that what I talked about, if you do all of that, what's going to happen is you will see that the banks will start to build branches, in the country, and they will have employees working in those branches. We already have schools and police stations there. So the banks should go there as well. Post office should extend there. And then you see Gamtel extending all the services to all these areas, build more cell phone towers, and make communication a lot easier, regardless of where you are in the country. You could be at Koina, from Koina to Khartoum, you could be anywhere and you have very good signal. If they do all of this, and area councils build good markets in places where people can go shop and buy what they need, and businessmen and women are also expanding their business over in the country, then if you live in the Basse area or you live in Koina, there's no need to go to Banjul, because anything you're going for Banjul, you can get it where you are. There's electricity supply, there's good water supply, there is food, everything you need is available in the area. There are jobs in the area, then people will not go to the Combo area. You see, people will stay where they are as long as they can earn their living there. That's important. And not only that, this urban migration is also causing our country to run out of land in the Combo area. And the lands are also getting to be more expensive than what they're supposed to be. Because if we run out of space, then space become a gold or a diamond, because every little space is going to cost more than what it's worth. You see, what they're selling in my mind, what they're selling a piece of land in certain areas, it should not have cost that much. It shouldn't be costing us that much if we had taken care of this long time ago, for the past 25 years ago or 20, 30 years ago. If we had started this project, then land in Combo is not going to be as expensive as it is today. But they're forcing us to buy these lands and build these houses. They are building a house. They're so expensive also. All of this is just creating an economic impact on our community, on our country. So there's a lot to be done on urban migration, and the government has the key role to this, and they can do something by really using the Department of Agriculture to expand some farming into the rural areas, and some other departments, and that can also expand in those areas, because if you do that, even the Ministry of Defense, if you think about the Army, they can have Army. I know they already have some one in Farafenni and Khartoum, but they can expand to other places, especially where Gambia is bordered with Senegal, and open camps there. In those camps, in those camps, since they will be government quarters, they can have an office building where you have security in there. You will have an NIA agents there. You have immigration agents that will stop people crossing our border, coming to vote in our country. With all of the things that are illegal activities, the drug squad will be around to make sure that nobody crosses our country with drugs into our country, not only the airport and seaport, but the other borders. There are people going in and out of Casamas, bringing drugs into our country from sources, So all of these will help us have all of these jobs in those areas and not all centered into the Combo. And this is what's gonna, not the only thing, a lot of things, like I said, we can't talk about. I'm sure the viewers can, and this is just opening the door for discussion, but there's a lot of other things that can be done to stop this urban migration. Yep. I think you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Sorry about that. I was talking to myself for a minute. Yes, so thank you for that contribution on this issue. When I look at rural urban migration, I look at it as something that would help us grow. If we cut down on rural urban migration by creating some incentives, such as building roads, so goods can be transported from the Combo areas to the provinces. Having businesses give business incentive to businesses so that they can have perhaps a lower cost on a lower, give some kind of, give them loans, give loans to business owners to be able to do businesses in the provinces. Give them, affordable loans and encourage people, because once those kind of things are created, and then create more infrastructure like hospitals, like, things that could create jobs. If we I mean, if we kind of started moving developments, trust me, living in the rural area is much better and more convenient nowadays than, I mean, staying in the combos. Because like I mentioned before, combos is overpopulated. Since there's a lot of population, the sanitation become an issue. Okay, people are not really cleaning the streets. The garbages are not being taken care of. People are using donkey carts. Sometimes the garbage sits there. The flies all over the place for days and days. I mean, like the KMC area is an example, although the mayor of KMC is trying very hard to get some sanitation trucks, but still, it has to take days before these garbages are collected because the population is so much, together at one spot to the point that people are not being able to clean. And then I don't think they have the cleaning, every month cleaning available. I mean, they're doing that now. During Jama time, they used to do that. He used to enforce that. So there's a lot of health risk, in urban areas. So when the government start to deflect opportunities to the rural areas, you're gonna see a lot of changes. People would prefer to live in rural areas, and then they will be able to live healthy because, the place is not kind of congested, and then the development will diverse there, and people will start to go and work there. In terms of agriculture, I think there should be an incentive. If we put an incentive in agriculture, make sure that people's groundnut are sold, and then they're given, they are given good amount of money for the groundnut cultivation. People would be driven to go and farm, not only groundnut but other cash crops. Now you're talking about Jahali Pachar area. I used to live in Hermitage High School. I know those areas have fresh water. Those fresh water, people can do irrigation. They used to do an irrigation in Georgetown during our time. So those are very important incentives. The government could actually give people loans. They could build facilities, and people will go down there and make a good living. So it's a lot of opportunities in the inland that we need to explore, but we are not. Everybody is going to Combo because they think that's where the jobs are. They think that's where they're gonna get a better life. They think that's where the money is. So I think what the government and different sectors should start doing is to look at sifting, resources, in inland. So people started, if resources are sifted to the rural areas, people will start moving back because there will be more convenience to living there. There is enough space, people can build houses there, and so forth and so forth. So I think, this is very important thing that we need to consider. I mean, Gambia now, the population is growing very fast. We have a lot of foreigners in the country. People are buying houses everywhere to the point that we don't even have a place to do forestation. And then that is gonna affect, us in a lot of ways. I think that's the reason why we're still seeing a lot of shortage in rainfalls, and then the soil become, is getting drier and drier every time, and people are not able to cultivate the kind of things that they used to. Yeah. Yeah. So those are my observations. What do you think?
Yep, absolutely. Great points. Great points. Definitely, like I said, urban migration has a lot of impact on our economy, a lot of impact on our people, and our communities as well. Just like you said, without repeating myself again, but it's important that the government thinks about this and put something in place that's going to study this and look at what can they do to remedy the situation and think about it, or what can be done now, but more long-term, because long-term, there's not going to be any properties, any empty lands in the Combo area. And our state, the whole state, the country needs some land in there, because we may need lands to build more hospitals. We may need land to build more schools. We may need lands to build fire departments. We may need more land to build other things that are important to our community, and not sell all these lands to people, and especially foreigners, to foreigners. It's very important. We need to make sure that we have some reserve lands that are going to be used for the next generation and for our grandchildren, so they can utilize those. Because if Combo is getting densely populated, which is already densely populated, there's a lot of bad, good and bad in there. And there's a lot more economic impact than anything. So it's important that the government thinks about that and put something in place that is going to study and come up with remedies and solutions for this problem, and discourage that. And I know that there is I can't remember how they call it, but there is something they have in the national budget that talks about decentralization fund. There is a decentralization fund. I'm not sure what they're using that fund for, but there's a lot of things that they could be doing using that, and really encourage by just like you said, shifting some departments, just like I said earlier, starting with the Department of Agriculture, really need to be shifted, or up country somewhere, so they are close to the farmers and be able to see the farmers and see what their problems are, and not wait until meet the farmer's door by the president to be able to allow farmers to speak. They should have known all their problems, and so when the president gets there, meeting people, the people can say, yep, these are being our problems, but because we have the Minister of Agriculture here, he's always been visiting us, and we've talked about this, and here are some of the things that have been done. So we can see some accomplishments rather than sitting at one spot and waiting and waiting and waiting. Nothing is getting done with them, and everybody's migrating. Everybody's continue to migrate, and makes it a lot harder. And unless something is done, that's going to continue. The migration is going to continue, because the reason why people are going to Combo are the same reasons why they're not staying up there, because they can't have this. They can't have access in there. And of course, businessmen and women, entrepreneurs, will not look at the urban area and at the rural area, because really there's nothing there. Infrastructure is important. They need to do that and get the infrastructure, good roads in there. But infrastructure is not only about roads, electricity, water supply. All of those need to be available for them, so that they can stay there and have electricity supply, water supply 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's important. Very important for anybody to be able to run a business up there. You need to be able to have those. You can't be relying on candles that we've used for for over 100 years now. We've been using candles. You can't use that nowadays to run a refrigerator. You can't use a candle to run a refrigerator. You need electricity. So it's important for people, even in the rural areas. People can go to the river and do their fishing and have fish and be able to freeze them, and so they can sell them later, or be able to put them in refrigerators and preserve them so that they won't go bad, and things like that. There's a lot that needs to be done. And unfortunately, we have not gotten the people with that right mindset yet to do that. And we need that. We need a change of mindset in the government, and for them to come up and say, okay, here's what we need to do. And we need to do this in the rural area to be able to discourage this urban migration. So it's important. It's a very good topic. And like I said, there's a lot to it. Thank you. You're still on mute. Yeah.
Yeah. Sam, thank you for that. What is your thought on why are people not farming nowadays? Why is it that you go to the rural areas, nobody want to farm, there are barely anybody there? What is the cause of that? Because during our time it wasn't like that.
Yes, good question. That's a very, very important question, a very good question. And one of it, there are several reasons. One I can say is The discouragement is from the government. If the government is not valuing farmers, encouraging farmers, and also buy their products when they come out, when they harvest them, then that's their source of income. That's how they survive. If they do all this farming and nobody's going to buy it, but it stays with them until they go until they expire or until they go bad, and they can't consume it all, then it's a discouragement. And because if you look at it, that's a big, huge discouragement for farmers. And then on top of that, they've seen that other people from all parts of the country are trying to go outside of the country. They want to travel overseas. They want to go overseas because that's where the money is. They don't know how people get the money, but that's where the money is. So they want to. That's what encouraged. Part of the reason that encouraged people to travel back way, because they've tried the right way and couldn't get it, and the right way is difficult for them to get visa and go somewhere else. And when they get visa, go somewhere overseas. Nowadays, it's hard to get even a work permit to work, somewhere. But anyway, just getting out of the country is a problem for them, and so that's why they took the back way. But part of the reason going back way too is, you have nothing to do. You plant your seeds, they come out, nobody's buying them. The government is not buying, is not subsidizing, is not encouraging you, and that's your way of living. In my days, my dad used to be a very prominent farmer. He sponsored himself to go to Mecca in the days from the peanuts the groundnuts that he farmed. A lot of he was one of the best in that area, in my region, in my area. And I remember, my mom also used to go to a rice field. I used to go help in the rice fields as well. And she will stack rice from this floor in our rice storage in the house, from this floor all the way to the ceiling. And we will be using that rice the whole year, and my dad will never buy any rice. Okay. So you and mute, I see you talking, but I'm not sure. But anyway, so if you think about it, in those days, those people have everything. My dad had, what he needed to feed his family. They can go all year round without buying a bag of rice, all year round. And he had peanuts, groundnuts at home.
Right.
That when he harvests and sell them, he has money, and he had money for the family, to feed the family. But not only that, we all have groundnuts in our home all year round, pretty much, for what they need it for, to make starting from making they use that peanut for peanut butter, peanut butter that we cook, all of that. There's a lot of things that were happening in those days that are not happening now. That's why people are going, people are leaving, because nobody's looking at farming as something important, because the GPMBs are not functioning anymore. The cooperative unions have been there, and this year, and I heard some other things about what they did with them, and also the government not buying their products what they should be buying. Even Senegal is paying more money for our products than our government. So that's a discouragement. These are all discouragements that are discouraging our farmers to farm. So if they can't farm, they think that you go to Combo, in the Combo area, maybe you'll have a job, because that's where all the government departments are. So everybody wants to go there and get a job in there to be able to support themselves and support their families. So that's what it is.
Very good. So then government has a lot to play in this to kind of help, because I've seen that a lot of demands from even foreign nationals. Like I was in Badibu 2019, and then people were coming from Senegal and elsewhere to kind of get the mangoes, green mangoes. They are not even ripe.
Yeah.
Just to harvest them and then take them to Senegal and elsewhere. So there's a lot of demand in agriculture, in gardening, and it looks like nobody's there to do it. or perhaps the area is not being encouraged. And then all this has to cause people to move from the rural areas to the urban areas. Is it that because there's not enough rainfalls, or is it that people don't have faith that when they do cultivate these things, they're gonna have money? But I'm thinking that's not the case, because people are coming from Senegal and selling and come and buy mangoes that are not even ripe. So the demand is there.
Yep.
The demand is there. The need is there. Right now, you go to Badibu, you cannot find nyo. You know nyo, right? What do millet? Kus. My people have been looking for kus for days. I mean, I can say months. It's difficult to have kus. Why? Because nobody's harvesting them. The demand is there. So, but there is nobody doing the work. So this can be a negligence on us also as citizens. Instead of investing, especially people from Europe and in America and elsewhere, instead of focusing our attention on building houses, and I have nothing wrong with building houses. There are a lot of nice houses being built in the rural areas. I've seen when I went there, but we can also look at kind of looking into some of these things. Areas where we have shortage, like agriculture, we can also look at that and probably tell our people, listen, there is a value in farming. You eat what you harvest, and you harvest what you eat. So I think with that, sensitization, or with that information, we would be able to get people to perhaps go back to the provinces. So we also have a burden. We need to take some actions, not only the government, because you and I, perhaps we feed a family of at least 3 or 4, and perhaps they go and buy rice at a very expensive price. They probably never eat mono, couscous mono, for maybe in months. So us here too, who have perhaps little money, we can probably focus our attention on encouraging our people to go and kind of harvest these things in the provinces to kind of meet the demand. I am telling you, I have seen people who haven't eaten couscous and they love mono, but they haven't eaten it in months. My family is an example of that. They've been telling me, send us the money, I send them the money, they can't find it anywhere. It's so sad. Whilst when we were growing up in Badibu, we used to eat mono to the point that I used to even rebel against it. I used to say, enough mono here, but now people can't even have it. So I think the government is kind of like lacking in terms of providing incentive for these people, in agriculture, especially in peanut sector. But again, I think, we need to think outside the box. We as citizens need to start also looking at things and kind of making investments in other areas, not only building houses. Trust me, building houses is great, but you build a house, somebody lives there. Yes, maybe you rent it. There's an economic, advantage to it, but having to meet people's demand is more satisfying. You kind of grow a millet, you supply somewhere, and then the more we have, the lesser, the lesser the price becomes, so that an ordinary person can afford. So we have a lot of work to do. I don't know when you were last there in Gambia, but if you go to the provinces, things there are the same price with price things in combos. So you look at provinces, there is no opportunity to even work, and now the prices are the same. That is really, really not easy. It's a big challenge.
It is sad. It is a huge challenge. That's why I said the government need to lead in this. However, one thing you mentioned, which is important, people need to take the responsibility and change our mindset. But what's going to make that easy for people to change their mindset in terms of farming is the government stepping up. If the government steps up and say, okay, we're going to buy everything you have, or we're going to encourage it, we're going to create some things for people. For example, if you look at in America here, you know, when we say farming, doesn't necessarily have to be peanuts, you know, groundnuts. The farming of the groundnuts, the corn, coos, millet, I mean, you name it, all of those play part. You know, in agriculture, under agriculture, here you have farmers that also own cattle, you know, cows, that of course produce milk. If you look at in some areas, the milk produced in the United States here is the milk that they're selling in the supermarkets. You look at different areas where you have even you have producers that have factories that use pasteurization machines to pasteurize all the milk coming from all these farmers, and they packaging them after pasteurizing them. They package them, refrigerate them, and ship them, and that's what's getting sold in the supermarket. And of course, it makes the price of the milk very reasonable. You know, one day I was talking to some family members, and then I was telling them, you know, sometimes in the evening, you don't need to eat a heavy meal like rice. You do not need to eat rice. Just be healthy. Just eat a bowl of cereal with milk. And they said, milk, milk, you don't have milk yet. You know, they said, what do you mean? I said, you can't go to the supermarket and buy a gallon of milk. They said, no, that's just that easy. If you get a gallon of milk also and you don't use it the same day, well, if you don't have electricity, guess what? It's going to spoil.
Spoils,
and
yeah.
It's true. So if you look at all of that, is that's why I said government has to take the lead in this, because all the milk, if the government takes lead in this and say there is a factory, even if the government doesn't own this, but encourage an investor to come in, that's going to buy all the milk from every farmer in the country, for example, people that have cows, and they take that milk into their factory, pasteurize it, package it, supply all the supermarkets and all the shops in the country.
Right.
Milk will be very reasonable. It's not going to be high because it's being produced in the Gambia. Anything that's produced in your country, think about you don't have any shipping and handling fees. You don't have any freight costs. You don't have any custom duties because it was made in the Gambia. You know, if you think about milk in that form, think about making tomato paste in the country. You think about corn, make corn flour, rice flour. You know, you think about all of these that come from agriculture, all of these that can be produced in the Gambia and can all be done in the rural area, because normally that's where your farming is. Everything is done in the rural area. You have companies that build their factories and that are taking all these products and buying all these products. Then everybody will be in a hurry every year. Farmers are going to start to compete. Who's going to have the biggest land with the biggest products or produce that they can sell to these people? And in fact, if you look in America, you go to some farms, you will see a farm, I mean, hectares of land, all with soybeans or corn. And in their farms, they have very, very, very beautiful mansions in there. They live there. They have one of the biggest and the nicest houses you can see. You see, when people see that, farmers, people get encouraged. You know, they get all this money from the farming. They are one of the richest people. Farmers are one of the richest people because what they produce is being sold or at least subsidized by the government so that they can earn a living, a very good living where they live, and be able to support their family and do everything they can. But while their products are being sold in the country at a very reasonable rate, and that way these businessmen and now importing flour and selling it this much, very high, very expensive. Rice also very expensive. Peanut butter, I'm sure, is expensive. Everything, onions is
Oh
expensive.
my
A
goodness.
bag of onions. Think about the oil that can come from the peanuts. If we can produce oil in the country from peanuts, peanut oil, very healthy. Think about all of that. That's why, again, like I said, government need to empower the Ministry of Agriculture, but also encourage investors that are going to come in and build factories in the rural area, employ people that are going to stay there. They're not going to migrate to the urban area. They're going to stay there and work because factories are hiring them and giving them jobs and they're getting a good pay, and they're building nice houses for themselves and having a good living conditions there. They can buy good cars there, and live in the rural area. And if they have that because of all of that, and of course, that leads to good infrastructure. Infrastructure comes there because now all these factories are going up. We do not want to give them land in the combo to build it there. To build their factories. We want to build factories in the rural area and allow people to stay there and work. Then you will also see people that migrated from the rural area to combo will go back home. They will go back home because now there's a factory where they can get a job, a better paying job than being a police officer in the city. You know, so because they're doing farming, it's a hard labor, they're going to get more money. So it's going to encourage people to get into farming, and people will start to migrate back home and go work in these factories, be able to produce something and be able to earn a good living and support their family, which is good for the country. And of course the cost of living will go down because everything is now getting produced in the country. So there's a lot of ways that they can do this.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam, for that. I think also another idea that the government can do is to create an agriculture education in agriculture, and some of these hands-on technologies, because this is what happens if they can incorporate. I know agriculture is studied in school, but if they can kind of revamp it and then we create, like a visual kind of education, having to show people how to invest in this area, how to create, things like you're talking about, manufacturing things like peanut oil. Instead of buying oil, you can even test it on. If near test there is some oil that comes out of it,
Yep.
that could be done manually, and that oil can be used. We Gambians, we need to think creatively, and that this has to go alongside with the support of the government. The government has to have, an architect. They craft the idea, the blueprint, and teach people. Some of these things people don't know. People are there in the rural areas, wandering around, having no jobs, adding density to the population there, while they can go and have a wonderful life in the rural areas. Everybody has a cell phone now. It takes you come from my village, from Baribu Sware Kunda to Banjul. If it is not the ferry, you're gonna get there in 30 minutes. So roads are really better now. People can go and even walk and come to Combos and so forth. So there is no need for people to be packed at one area just because they feel like that's where they can make it. That's not the case anymore. The land is there. Let's make the best use of it. Let's the government and the education sectors create a guidance, kind of like education about how people can use what they have to develop something and build up on that. I think those are highly needed. Again, us here, we also have a role to play. I'm not gonna, isolate us, the diasporans, because we are the one who feed these people, who send money to our families. We can explain to them, instead of going to Combo trying to find a job, a laborer job. Listen, there is another way out where you can make economic. Go and plant sorrow. Sorrow is money in the provinces. I remember my brother, planting sorrow in Badibu, and he got a lot of money out of it. So those are investments that don't fail. People come from all the way from Senegal to buy sorrow and watermelon. And you know how much money it is? The demand is there. Why not exploit? Why are we wasting so much time in wasting time in the provinces? I mean, sorry, in the rural areas. I mean, sorry, in the urban areas, trying to seek for that laborer job while we can make a living with something that is out there. It just few $1,000s is you can invest in watermelon. You can invest in other things that could that could that could give you money. So I think we need to, perhaps our people back home don't have the money, but we in the diaspora and other places who are taking their responsibility every day, we need to set them a plan and guide them. I guarantee you, if we do that, each and every family, I mean household, they started getting that little money and they started getting better life and living in a good house. The houses are there. A lot of rural areas have good houses. You go there, people in the diaspora build good houses there. But the thing is, there's no income. There's no way to get income while you are there. That's why they need to focus on. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, yeah, and I've once said this on my forum as well, and I said that government need to have weekly programs on national television, on the national televisions, where they can talk to people and invite entrepreneurs to come in and talk about certain things, just like what we're talking about here, you know, and encourage people to get into certain things. And they can utilize that platform for a lot of reasons. Not only that, whether it's the health sector, the agriculture, the finance, and all these departments, they should have, subject matter experts sit and have weekly programs, even if it's only for 30 minutes, half hour is good, and really share some good information, have weekly show, talk about entrepreneurship, how can people do certain things in their own country? How can you start a business? What kind of business can you get into? Think about, even poultry farm, having a lot of chicken, poultry. I mean, not only you can sell the chicken, you can sell the eggs too. So, if we have a farmer or someone that starts a good poultry farm, and the president himself comes out and say, all the chicken that you're exporting, you're importing and buying from overseas for me, chicken wings, the drumsticks, and the chicken, I want to buy it from Gambia. Okay? I want to buy it from the Gambian poultry farms, not from anywhere else. Number one, it's going to be cheaper because there's no shipping and handling. There's no freight cost there. And number two, it's going to be natural. They will not be chicken that's been injected with all kinds of hormones and all kinds of things. It'll be very natural. So it'll be organic, in other words. So, that's why I said, government has a lot of role, and there's a lot of things we can sit here and talk and talk and talk. I can mention so many things that they can do to really encourage farming in our country and encourage entrepreneurs and encourage people to get into some kind of business to be able to sell in their own countries, if you provide the avenue for them to be able to sell it. That's the key. That government's role is encourage, teach, and educate, coach people to get into things. But at the end of the day, they need to be able to sell that to be able to live. They cannot all come to Combo and work there. They need to be able to sell what they produce in the country. And the government can start buying from them as well, and support them, support their businesses. And once the government is buying chicken from people and all the eggs, think about the hotel industry. The hotel industry, all the food that they cook there, the rice, the onions, the tomatoes, the lettuce, the chicken, the fish that they cook, everything that they cook in the hotel and restaurant industry can all come from Gambia. And all the supermarkets in the Gambia can sell milk from Gambia, onions from Gambia. Shopkeepers can get everything that was produced in Gambia, produced and packaged in the Gambia. All of these are important things. And in doing that, of course, like I said, the government has to take the lead in this. by not only sensitizing, but really put that infrastructure together for agriculture, Department of Agriculture to be able to do this and get food safety intact to make sure that food safety can also teach these people how to keep food safe so that, you know, everybody can consume the food that was produced in Gambia here. So there's a lot of things that we can go back and forth on this and we won't finish, but I'll say, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
that's really good
That's
enough.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up now. We are at above the hour, and again, this is very important things to look at. I will hold government accountable to do more in this area, of course, because they have they open loopholes for businesses, although they are not the sole creator of jobs, but they can tell business owners like, we can give you incentive, we can make you do this if you go and invest in Farafenye, Badi Bukera one, Nyamina Dankunku, they can do that, and then they can also having to build infrastructures like good roads in those areas, so the communication can be easier. So government has its role to play.
Yep.
Okay, but our citizens too, we have our role to play. Each and every one of us, we have to take it upon our responsibility. What is it within Gambia that we can develop? What are the demands? Where are we? Where is it that which area has a higher demand? How can we fill that gap? We have to be economically thinking in solving our problems, because having to import things, goods from outside, Gambia is importing everything now. It's not exporting a thing. And that's a sad story. We used to export a lot of groundnuts,
Yep.
During the GPMB time.
Yep.
We used to have a lot of things that gardening used to be sustained with gardening. When I was growing up in Baribo, we never even go to the market. Right now, my people are saying that they're going to nearby town to go to the market and buy things to cook. So that shows us that we are very much in deficiency. And there's no more rice field in Baribo areas anymore. I used to go to rice fields. I used to even be a bird watcher in the rice field. That's how much rice we used to have. We used to have our whole, in the early 1970s, in the 1980s, we used to have our whole home full with rice. We used to have buntung, we will eat the rice all year round. What happened to all those? Gone. You go to those rice fields now, nobody goes and cultivates rice anymore.
You know, I'll say one thing. You just reminded me because people can do a lot of things. You know, even in my own house here, of course, I have a house and I have a fenced backyard as well. In my backyard, on one side of my house, there's a small area that's been cornered there with topsoil in there. And my son is 14. I have a 14-year-old son who likes to look for some things and cook them. He likes to go on the internet and YouTube and search recipes and come cook them. He decided to plant lettuce. He said, we're not going to buy lettuce. I'm going to plant lettuce here. The next time we want to eat, when they're ready, we're going to eat lettuce. And he planted some lettuce in there and he watered them himself until they grew up. I mean, it was perfect, nice lettuce. And one day he made a chicken salad. He made dinner out of that and
nice.
Brought the lettuce and we ate it in the house here. You see?
How does that feel?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He is only 14 years old. And he did that. In fact, he did that before he turned 14 because he just turned 14 in last November. So right now it's wintertime, it's cold, so he's not planting anything. But next time he said he's going to do tomatoes, he's going to do onions, he's going to plant lettuce again. He's going to plant all these things in there so we can harvest them and use them here instead of buying them from the store because these will be natural. You see, so you know, there's a lot of things people can do for themselves. But yeah, thank you though. Thank you.
Thank you,
Just
Sam. So
reminded
I
me
think
of
we
that.
come to for the benefit of our viewers. We come to the end of this program, Sam. Let me just look at what some comments that some people just mentioned. It's always good at what people say. Let me one second. Yeah. So, but let's keep talking about the issues. You can check us on Facebook, and then also we have a WhatsApp platform. Contribute to the show. Again, this is about our people. We just need to make sure that, like we come out and then we sensitize our people. Somebody said that you have to work with democracy. It is important for the people who can feel that they can be influenced. I live in Sweden. We have democratic elections, and that is important for all countries. And somebody said nothing is in order in the Gambia, shit all over the place. And somebody said, greetings to you. Is Gambia we have. All hands need to be on deck to develop. That is why I joined this platform. You are doing great. So these are the comments that we have from our viewers. Good. So we want to thank everyone. Sam, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
We missed Alas today, but he probably will be here on board next week.
I'm sure he'll join us next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Great topic. Great topic. Thank you.
Thanks to the viewers as well. And we really appreciate their comments and, very, very, very good comments there. So that's always good.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. See you next week. Take care, Sam.
All
right. Bye.